the UFC had just announced the White House card. And I'm going to lie to you guys, when Dana White was talking about this prior to announcing it, he said it was going to be 6, 7 title fights. And it was 2 title fights. Now, let's talk about the fights. Okay. The main event is Justin Gaethje taking on Ilia Topuria. I like that fight. I think it's a great fight. I think the biggest thing, like off the top of my head, I think Ilia Topuria knocks him out. But I do see a world where Justin Gaethje could knock him out as well. But Ilia Topuria is so damn good and his IQ is really high and he can take a shot and he damn well can give a shot. But the other flip side of this, what makes me excited, is to see how Justin Gaethje approaches it after spending time with him playing football. Because when he was talking about Paddy Pimblett, he was like, well, Paddy can't kick, so I was okay going into his power. How will he approach this fight against Ilia Topuria, where someone who can kick and has a lot of power? And then in the co-main event, you have the interim heavyweight champion, Ciryl Gane. Well, there is no interim heavyweight champion. They're making an interim heavyweight champion because the heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall, is still unable to defend his belt. So they have Alex Pereira taking on Ciryl Gane. This is an interesting fight. This is, we have 2 strikers coming to fight. We have Ciryl Gane, who is definitely the bigger athlete, who's very good about avoiding getting hit. He has a side karate stance. Taking on Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira, the former world champion in the middleweight division and the light heavyweight division, and also Glory kickboxing champion. That should be an interesting fight just because it's Alex Pereira going up to heavyweight and see how he does against guys.
He's going to lose to Ilia Topuria in the main event in the White House. If he pulls it off, it'll be cinema, okay? And I'll assume that the rig is in. And Topuria has been paid $10 million to make the US look good on the world stage. Because Gaethje, he's the All-American. He's red, white, he bleeds red, white, and blue, brother. You know what I mean? He's going to be there. He's the only American that's even in conversations to ever be in a title fight. Unless they did Yan O'Malley too. Which people would still complain about, by the way, but it's the only other.
See, maybe I'm being a sourpuss Sally. Maybe I'm just being a bit of a pessimist. But the UFC's White House card was just announced, and for what we were promised, this is a massive letdown. And I'm gonna explain why this had every opportunity to bring the UFC back to prominence, to stake their claim once again as the combat sports outlet across boxing, MMA, and everything in between. And they fumbled it. Not because they had to, not because there was no other way to do it, but because the UFC is in a place right now where this is the product. And I guess there is no fighting it anymore. You just have to get used to it. What do I mean? The breakdown. Let's go. Let's contextualize this, right? For the last however many months, Dana White, who sat down with me, who sat down with other people, who had talked about the UFC White House card, had essentially said that this would be like the UFC Sphere on steroids, right? UFC Freedom 250 is what they're calling it. And yeah, if you mention steroids in a UFC card, how do you not have John Jones involved? We'll get to that in a second. But Dana and the entire UFC and the teases that have come from being this, insane, massive card, putting it together, how it was gonna blow everything out of the water, it was gonna be badass and all this. The hype around this has been ridiculous. And it's given you a sense of like, oh man, something big is coming. Something, along the lines of a UFC 100, 200, 300, or like when, again, Conor McGregor Habib was announced. Conor McGregor came back to the Donald Cerrone fight was announced. When Jorge Masvidal fought Nate Diaz for the BMF, when George St. Pierre came back at UFC 217, it had that kind of feel to it. And I think that's the biggest problem I have right now, was the hype did not match the delivery. This is like ordering Domino's pizza and somehow Little Caesars is delivered. You don't know how it got there. It's definitely not what you asked for. It's clearly not what you were promised, but it's pizza, so you'll eat it. This is kind of how I feel about the UFC White House card. But without further ado, here it is. Drum roll, please. Okay, UFC Freedom 250. And honestly, this isn't a bad card, okay? Because you have Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje for the World Lightweight Championship. I have my problems there, but okay. Champion versus interim champion, do your deal. Then the co-main event, Alex Pereira versus Ciryl Gane for the interim heavyweight championship. Okay, Alex Pereira making his way up to heavyweight. We knew this was coming when he dropped the strap at 205. Ciryl Gane, I have my problems with it. We'll come back to it in a second.
All right, friends, big breaking news on this Saturday, March 7th. UFC 326 is actually happening as I'm recording this right now, but at approximately 10 p.m. Eastern time, our long international nightmare came to an end. Why? Because the UFC finally announced the White House card. They're calling it UFC Freedom 250. Of course, July 4th will be the United States' 250th birthday. Obviously, this event is happening on June 14th, a Sunday night, which just so happens to be the president's birthday, and they finally announced it, and so now we can talk about it. The main event is, in fact, going to be Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje for the lightweight title. A unification bout, of course. Gaethje won that belt back on January 24th. Ilia is the man. He won that belt in June of last year, and he's coming back to fight in the main event of the White House card. So it's Spain/Georgia versus the United States on June 14th. That's the main event. The co-main event is Alex Pereira moving up to heavyweight to fight Cyril Gane for the interim heavyweight title. More on that in a moment. Also on the card, I'm reading this because I don't want to mess it up. Sugar Sean O'Malley against Ayman Zahabi. So that's the United States versus Canada. By the way, Pereira, Brazil versus France. So there's one fight that doesn't feature an American, although he does live in Connecticut and sort of feels like an adopted American at this point. Michael Chandler does end up on the card. He goes up against Mauricio Hufi. Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins, America versus America, and Steve Garcia versus Diego Lopez. They love Diego Lopez. He's getting this opportunity after just getting a chance to fight for the belt. So in the end, as I told you, 6 fights, 2 title fights. It was not the 7 to 8 title fights as was initially promised. It's a marquee main event. I know that there are some people who are upset. I know that there are some people who are trying to say, like, hey, this is a letdown. This is an incredible 6-fight card. And it was never going to be 7 to 8 title fights. That was never going to happen. That would screw up the rest of their schedule. Ilia Topuria coming back against Justin Gaethje is a massive, massive fight. It is a marquee fight. It is one of the biggest fights of the year. Topuria coming back after everything he's been through, almost exactly a year.
What once sounded nearly unthinkable has suddenly turned real. The White House fight card is happening, and the reaction across the MMA world erupted instantly. Fighters, analysts, and insiders are already jumping in as the sport begins processing what might become one of the most unprecedented spectacles in combat sports history. Now the real mystery emerges. Just how enormous could this event actually become? And that question opens the door to everything that follows. After the official reveal confirming the fights planned for the historic card at the White House, Dana White was immediately pressed about swirling speculation tied to a bout that had never been formally announced for the lineup. Naturally, as whispers about Jon Jones started spreading almost instantly, Dana White moved quickly to shut that conversation down. Without hesitation, he dismissed any possibility of the matchup happening, explaining that there were already clear reasons the fight was never going to take place from the very beginning, leaving fans wondering what exactly had unfolded behind the scenes before the rumors even had a chance to grow.
Dana, you talked about you don't want to say what fight fell out, which is fair enough, but there is obviously...
Well, there's weird circumstances around it that we probably shouldn't talk about.
Okay. There is speculation, of course, that it's Jon Jones.
No,
right?
it's not.
Was Jon
Ever, which I told you guys 100,000 times, was Jon Jones even remotely in my mind to fight at the White House. I wouldn't. First of all, I've told you why I wouldn't do it. And number 2, some guy with, meta glasses on filmed him talking about his hips, that his hips are so bad. And I don't know if you guys saw that flag football game where he can barely run. Jon Jones he retired because of his hips. He's got arthritis in his hips. Apparently he's been, doctors say he should have hip replacement. So
Okay.
add that on top of all the other reasons that I wouldn't. The Jon Jones thing is bullshit.
Okay.
I'm not saying they weren't talking to Jon Jones and that Jon Jones wasn't interested in the fight. And what was even crazier is Jon Jones came out and was like, I'm in negotiations right now for the White House fight, after I had already sent a text to his lawyer saying, never going to happen ever.
Reacting to the action on the historic White House card, Joe Rogan and the commentary team quickly found themselves bringing up the terrifying dominance of Ilia Topuria. While breaking down his matchup with Justin Gaethje, Rogan pointed back to Topuria's earlier performance against Charles Oliveira, describing it as the kind of showing that revealed just how rare and dangerous the undefeated contender truly might be.
Bro, I got 10 text messages going. That tells you how great Ilia Topuria is. because he went through him
like a knife through butter. I mean, we're talking about a generational talent in that.
Even as the White House fight card became officially confirmed, Justin Gaethje admitted he wasn't entirely sure he had secured the main event against Ilia Topuria. Reflecting on the moment the announcement dropped, Gaethje revealed it took a brief pause before the reality truly settled in that he was headlining one of the most talked about cards in MMA history. Once that confirmation hit, the moment shifted from disbelief to pure anticipation as fans everywhere immediately began counting down to what now feels like an unforgettable collision waiting to happen.
Well, okay, so Justin Gaethje, we were just talking about the White House card there. It's now official. You're headlining with Ilia Topuria for Undisputed. Congratulations. That is huge. You didn't reveal the news when you came and sat with us earlier. We won't take offense, but...
No, I didn't know. I wasn't sure.
No,
you didn't know. I was not sure.
Hold on, you're saying that when they made the announcement, that was a surprise to you.
That was 100% confirmation that I was the main event. I didn't know that. I didn't know who the co-main event, or if I was the co-main event, or who the other fight was at the time.
I should have known something was up when they came in my ear. They said, ask Justin 2 questions. Don't talk about what's next for him. Don't talk about the next fight. Don't talk about the White House. I should have saw it coming.
They know I'm too honest.
Shifting focus to the fight itself, Gaethje admitted he is still assembling the exact strategy needed to confront Topuria. While he has carefully studied Topuria's abilities and understands the danger of facing such a sharp, technically refined opponent, Gaethje says the challenge only fuels his determination to crack the puzzle and display the adaptability that has helped him adjust to every style he has encountered across his career. With the stakes now higher than ever on the White House stage, he remains determined to leave absolutely everything inside the octagon and prove why he deserves to stand in the main event spotlight.
Play out.
Yeah.
What's the strategy? How do you think about this matchup with Ilia?
Yeah, I mean, just, I've obviously thought about it, him being the champion, me being the guy that wants to be the champion. But I don't technically have a breakdown right now. My coach already has it. I guarantee if my coach was here, he would talk your ear off about what the plan is. But I am excited to figure out the puzzle that is Ilia Topuria. He's a great boxer. His 2-3 is the nicest 2-3 I may have ever seen in this sport. And he's a dangerous dude. So I'm excited to showcase my skills. I showcased through the many experiences that I can fight different styles of fights. We know that styles make matchups, and I'm going to do my best to put together the perfect.
And for Sean O'Malley, the opportunity to compete on the White House card was simply impossible to ignore. The rising star made it clear he wasn't concerned about the opponent standing across from him. His focus was only on stepping onto that historic stage, even picturing the surreal moment of walking out from the Oval Office toward the White House lawn. "I don't care who it is. I just want to be on that card," O'Malley said. With only a select few fighters sharing that once-in-a-lifetime spotlight, he admitted the opportunity almost feels too massive to truly process. For O'Malley, this isn't just another bout, it's the kind of moment capable of shaping his entire career and potentially securing his place in the history of MMA.
People are going to say, how this fight come about? Here's the God-honest truth. I told UFC, I would love to fight at the White House. I will fight anybody at the White House. I will fight Ilia. I will fight Islam. I will fight Habib. No, but for real, I said, I want to fight on the White House card. Please let me fight on the White House card. I don't care who it is. I want to be on there. I want the opportunity to, I fought at the Sphere, which is really cool. The White House, I think there's 6 fights on the White House card. There's me plus 11 other people that get to make the walk from the Oval Office. That's what they're saying. You walk from the Oval Office into the White House lawn, and it's honestly hard to even wrap your head around. It doesn't even feel like it's reality. Once in a lifetime opportunity. America versus Canada. I'm pretty sure we whooped their ass in hockey. Don't really watch it, but I heard that's true. But USA versus Canada. Makes sense. I like it. I'm happy. I'm excited. 14 weeks, plenty of time. I'm pretty sure it's on a Sunday, June 14th. Is that Trump's birthday? Some shit?
Following O'Malley's excitement, Diego Lopez is just as energized about being included on the White House card. He described it as an unbelievable opportunity that could transform his career and help support his family, making it clear how deeply personal the moment truly feels. For Lopez, stepping onto this historic stage alongside some of the sport's biggest stars represents not only a privilege but also a rare chance to carve his own place into MMA history.
So I feel amazing. This is a great opportunity for me. I worked so hard for staying the big cards in UFC. Now UFC sending me the chance to fight the White House. And this is a great opportunity for my career, for the future. I tell for my family, my brothers, my friends, when I stay in UFC, I fight in the great cards.
Breaking down the newly announced White House card, Michael Bisping could barely contain his excitement over the lineup. He pointed to the main event featuring Ilia Topuria against Justin Gaethje for the undisputed lightweight championship, while also highlighting the striking battle between Alex Pereira and Cyril Gane, describing it as a collision between two of the most dangerous kickboxers competing in the UFC today. Bisping also emphasized the overall depth of the card, mentioning names like Michael Chandler along with intriguing matchups such as Bo Nickel facing Kyle Daukaus, calling the event stacked with power, elite skill, and fights that fans could be discussing for years after the final bell.
Topuria taking on Justin Gaethje for the undisputed lightweight championship of the world. Also, I didn't expect this one. Alex Pereira, he's on the card. I expected that. I thought versus John Jones, but no. John Jones is not on the card. It is Alex Pereira taking on Cyril Gane, obviously from France, obviously just fought for the undisputed title against Tom Aspinall. Sadly, that fight ended because of the eye poke. But this is the world we're living in, and that is a crazy fight, man, because Pereira, Cyril Gane, two of the best kickboxers that we've seen in the UFC. Simple as that. So that is very interesting, and it's just a great fight. I mean, two big, powerful strikers. Pereira with the power, Gane with the movement, very, very light on the feet. Excited for that one. Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler's on the card. Who was he taking on? Maurizio Hufi? I think it was Hufi. Maurizio Hufi, I'm trying to remember. Ayman Zahabi back on there versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. Michael Chandler versus Hufi. Oh, Bo Nickel taking on Kyle Daukaus, which is a bit of a... I expected Bo Nickel.
Calling the White House card the peak of the peak, MMA guru stepped in with his own perspective on the matchups. While he complimented contests like Bo versus Kyle Daukaus and Lopez against Steve Garcia, he argued that some of those fights didn't necessarily require the White House spotlight, suggesting they could shine just as strongly, or perhaps even better, on a standard UFC fight night. Even with a few placements he questioned, MMA guru admitted there's simply no denying that this lineup is already shaping into one of the most talked about events the sport has ever seen.